This video looks at how to mount the lantern on the AR1. So you need to refer to the documentation that comes with your lantern to see whether it is on or off. This one says turn lantern on before deployment, which means that it is shipped off and needs to be turned on before we deploy it. Some lanterns are shipped in a state that when the box is first open and is exposed to light, the light exposure turns the lantern on and you don't need to do anything before mounting it. But this one says it needs to be turned on before deployment, so we need to open the box. And get the lantern ready. So that is the bird spike that goes on top of the lantern. Make sure you don't lose that piece. So unwrap the lantern. And we need to undo these 4 screws to be able to access the switch inside the lantern. So remove these 4 screws. And pop the battery out, and you can see a small port there that you can undo with a screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver. And inside this port is a small slider switch. So you can see the markings on the PCB beside the switch. Off is to the right, on is to the left. So just use a small flat blade screwdriver to slide that switch across to the on position, and then reverse the steps to close the lantern. Place the battery back in position. Now, when we put the cover plate back on, make sure the O-ring is clean, and we will carefully install these screws so that you try and make sure that the screw goes in nice without cutting a new groove into the plastic. If you're too aggressive at this stage and just screw the thread in so it's not properly aligned, then it may actually damage the plastic and the seal might not be as good as it could be. So I tend to not use the screwdriver in electric mode now, because I want to be able to feel when it's sufficiently tight. No need to over tighten, or again you might strip the thread. Okay, so just be careful with the thread to make sure you're not damaging the plastic, because it is possible to over tighten and damage the thread. So once you've got the lantern on, then you might notice that there are 4 holes in the body of the lantern, and we are using these 4 Phillips head screws around the top of the AR1 to mount the lantern. These screws do not go through these holes. So these heads of screws are countersunk, so they have an edge that allows them to hold onto the outside of the lantern. So you need to undo 3 of them and fully remove 1 of them. Okay, so let's get 3 of them out about 2/3 of the way and remove 1. And then we simply slide the lantern into position and then put the last screw back in position. So you can see here that the lantern is not held in through these holes. It's just that these screws, when tightened up, hold around the outside edge of the lantern. Now we do that because these are outside the radius of the O-ring that seals the top compartment. So these are outside the O-ring. So these screws do not compromise the waterproofing of the main compartment. And so once you've got these in position, Just tighten them up sufficient so they're nice and tight and won't wobble out. And that's it. The lantern is secured to the top of the AR1. Place the bird spike on top, and it is ready to deploy.